Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we have the endgame guide for Retribution Paladins in Legion Remix. Now I did, not long ago, a getting started ret guide. That's still a good guide if you are like level 1. This is like what to do at level 80, right? So this is a little bit different from that. I wanted to get something out there for the people who are just starting, but I also want to have this out there so if you are level 80 or you're approaching level 80, you kind of know what to do, what to look for, how to get the most out of your character, and all that kind of stuff like that. Also, this video is going to take a little bit longer than the first one because we're going to be a little bit more specific about things. And I'll also give you tips like how to farm bronze or what you should be doing, what you should maybe not be doing, and that kind of thing as well. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Let's kind of go in the similar order as we did before. So first of all, let's talk about talents. So now I have the hero talents unlocked. So what I can also do is down in the description below, I can just copy these talents and put them down below, and you can copy them if you want. All of these are going to be Templar. However, Herald of the Sun is actually completely viable in Legion Remix, and I'll talk a little bit about why that is. But yeah, as far as talents go, I'll import these and send them to you. Like I said in the other video, if you want to know the nitty gritty on how to play ret, the best thing you can do is either watch my 11.2 guide video for retail WoW, watch somebody else's retail WoW 11.2 video, or go to like Wowhead and look up how to do it. This isn't really the place to do the rotation and stuff like that, so I'm not going to do that. But these are just the talents that you kind of want to take for Templar. But yeah, and very similar for Herald. I will talk about a little bit of difference there. So again, I have 3 talents saved. I have Outdoor World, I have Mythic Plus, which is very similar to Outdoor World, and then I have like a raid single target build that you can work in as well. We'll hit on a couple of the main features of these that may be even a little bit different from the regular retail version of the game. The biggest one's going to be over here with Divine Hammer. So Divine Hammer in retail is still played by Templar. It works really good with the Templar tier set, but we don't have tier sets here in Legion Remix, so it loses a lot of its luster. You do not need to take this. This is more of a cosmetic pick. It's still good, but you could pick something else if you wanted instead of Divine Hammer. It's not as necessary, so if you hate Divine Hammer, just don't take it. You're not going to notice too big of a deal. It's better in single target probably than it is in AoE, or Mythic Plus I should say, because it's fine for AoE damage, but in a general Mythic Plus setting you might get a little bit more value out of something else. But that's the biggest thing that you don't need to take if you are Templar, because you don't have the tier set. Also, you just don't take it if you do play Herald. So if you choose to play Herald of the Sun, just don't even bother taking it. There's only one thing you really need to know with Herald of the Sun, and it's this Blessing of Anchi, I call it. I think it's called like Ancha or something like that, but I call it Blessing of Anchi. It's like in the middle of the Herald tree. Basically, you want to use your Hammer of Wrath every time that procs. You can track it with the Blizzard cooldown manager. So if you go to gameplay things, you can enable the cooldown manager, and then in edit mode, and then there's advanced cooldown settings as well in here, and you can just have Blessing of Anchi selected or whatever to appear as like a bar. I would recommend doing that if you do decide to play Herald. And one interesting thing about Herald is later on, as we get more and more power, you see I'm at 596 now, but we're going to get more and more powerful, more and more power in our artifact weapons or whatever. And if you go into like a Mythic Plus solo, right, and you pull a big old pack of groups, Herald of the Sun could just be fun to play on that, because you have all your light beams and burning everything. That could be fun to play. It's completely viable. And as I mentioned in the other video, it is important to have fun. It is a remix, right? You're not going, likely if you're watching this video, you're not going for like world first of anything. So, remember to try to have fun with it as well. But again, I'll link these talents below for this: an Outdoor World one that I use, a Mythic Plus one, and a raid single target. And then the only real difference between like that and then if you wanted to play Herald for fun is you just wouldn't ever take Divine Hammer with Herald. You just never would take it anyways. I don't know if I have it on my Mythic Plus one anyways, but yeah, that would be like the main difference there as far as that goes. So now that we've talked a little bit about the talents, and I can actually link them below so I don't have to go through them quite as much as the other video. Now let's go ahead and talk about the stats again. So for stats, everything pretty much stays the same, except for I had not paid attention too much to my gear while I was leveling up, but there is no versatility on your gear anymore. In Mop Remix there was. I mentioned in the getting started video that you could, you know, even make like a full versatility build, and it was actually kind of fun in Mop Remix because it made you basically unkillable. But they got rid of that. But I do have 4% versatility because the way you get your versatility now is from when you keep stacking points on your final artifact trait. It gives you a 1% versatility every time. So eventually we're going to have a ridiculous amount of versatility, and you will basically be unkillable if you keep playing Legion Remix and powering up infinitely. You will be basically unkillable at some point, which will be really fun to do, by the way. So for stats, you kind of want to focus a lot on mastery, mostly because crit and haste are going to diminish their value more than mastery will. But you do want to have a certain amount of crit. So my stats right now are actually pretty good for where my gear is. Obviously, eventually those numbers will go higher, so you can always have the numbers higher. But there's like 84 mastery, 42 haste, 44 crit. That's actually a pretty good balance of stats here for Legion Remix. And then of course eventually the versatility will get higher. And you know, you get so much gear in this, right? Every time you do a quest, every time you do anything, you get this gear. So you can really itemize your gear really well for that. And yeah, you can just try to get the stats to be where you want them to be. Basically, if you're like over 50% crit, it's probably not going to help you much. And if you're over 50% haste, it's probably not going to help you much either. I would say there's no hard caps, but you know, it's kind of like, what is this really doing for me at this point? And mastery kind of has the same thing as well, but it just has a lot less diminishing returns than the other two. So that's the only difference there. So mastery probably first. Now that I'm max level and can see how the stats go, like you have so much of the stats that it's like, yeah, mastery is probably the number one thing you should be worried about. So if you have like the same eye level gloves, so I have 601 gloves. If I had 601 gloves that had mastery on them, I'd maybe put those on instead, right? That's how you can kind of think about itemizing your gear. Now, on the same idea as gear, let's talk about the jewelry and trinkets next. So, and how to like think about itemizing these. So, there are some traits that are just better than other ones. I can open up my bags for this. Oh no, actually I got rid of my old lower level ones. But the way you want to itemize your stuff is you want to go by the abilities on them, right? Obviously, you want high eye level stuff too, but what you really want is Touch of Malice. So this is the strongest one as of now. All these things can get nerfed. When we get into the artifact weapon, obviously that can get nerfed too, right? The talent or whatever can get nerfed, and then whatever if they do, and if they don't, great. Then you don't have to worry about it. But Touch of Malice right now is kind of the strongest one. So you do want to have 2 of these if you can. Now that changes when like something becomes so low eye level. I'm having a general rule when I'm playing of like 100 eye level. I don't know what the actual number is. I don't even know if there's a way to sim this. But so like let's say I have the 601 Souls of the Claw. Let's say I had another, you can't have another Touch of Malice, but let's say I had a Volatile Magic or Terror of the Deep, which is the second best. Let's say I had Terror of the Deep at like 485. Well, I'm just going to put this Souls of the Claw on over that because it's so much more item level. At some point, the item level just takes over. And also, when you get invited to groups, when you're trying to do group content, it's good to have higher item level. So when it comes to that, that's when I'd say, yeah, just switch out to the lesser ability just to get the extra stamina. You know, this new ability is going to do some sort of damage as well. Obviously, as a ret, you want to try to find ones that do damage, but you can also, I have an Arcane Ward on now because it was just much higher eye level than what I had. It doesn't do any damage really, but it does a little bit of damage, but it also, you know, gives you a little bit of defensive as well. And that's something you can take into mind. If you want to play a more defensive build, then play a more defensive build. I'm only telling you how to do the most damage, but you certainly don't have to. You can play a defensive build if you like. So the number 1 ability is Touch of Malice, so you want 2 of those. So let's say a trinket and a ring, or a trinket and a necklace, etc. And then there's Terror of the Deep. I don't have one of those on right now, but Terror of the Deep would be the second best one. Again, you'd want to have 2 of those on. That's the max. And then the third best is Volatile Magic. You want 1 of those on. So right now in my gear, I actually only have one Touch of Malice and 1 Volatile Magic, and everything else I have isn't nearly as good. Including I have like a caster one on, which, I mean, you don't have to be a caster to use it, but you can move while casting, which doesn't really do too much for me, that part of the ability. And so those are what you want to focus on. Again, we'll just go over it again. Touch of Malice, try to get 2 of those for the most damage. 2 Terror from Below. It's like, I can show you, I don't have one on me, but I can show you it in the in the artifact tree. Where's this at? Tear below. Right here. Tear from below, it's called. So 2 of those, 2 of the malice, and then 1 of this volatile magic in the middle. And that's kind of when you want to focus on your jewelry just to do the most damage as a Ret Paladin. And if you want to play defensive, play defensive. You know, there's other cool abilities as well. And it's just all these ones are up to tuning. If they decide to nerf them, then different ones will be the best. And, you know, it's not saying that it's the coolest ability, it's just saying it does the most throughput. Next, let's go ahead and talk about said artifact weapons. We have the Ashbringer here. Obviously on the left side, this still stands as on the other video. You still have to fill out the whole left side. And the way these trees work is you have to select one and then you fill it out and then you get all the way to the end. Now you can change these anytime you want. So even though I have multiple points in here at the very end, I can just unclick all of these, then start unclicking these, and I can go all the way back to here and then I can start filling out a different tree if I want to try something else, right? So feel free to try other things. In fact, I encourage you to try other things. This particular tree that I have selected is the most damage, but again, this could get nerfed or tuned at any time. So it's cool to try out other things. Try them out, especially once you get more powerful that you're not worried about dying very much because you are so powerful. You know, try out some other things. It's fun to do. This is Legion Remix. I'm going to mention that a bunch of times just to try to have a little bit of fun too. But yeah, this is the Twisted Crusade. It's the most powerful one. You'll also get quests to try different abilities out as well in your quest, and that's cool to do as well. So again, you don't lose anything. You can just minus them out, right click them out, and then click them back in. You can do the quest and go right back to this if you like it or whatever. You know, the top one is more of like a Call of the Forest, so it's like summoning minions, right? The middle one's kind of like a mage. It also has like some shielding components to it, more of like a caster, arcane. Then we have Tempest Wrath, which reminds me a lot of like a shaman type abilities here. And then we have the most paladin one is actually at the bottom, but it's very holy focused, very healing focused. Reminds me of a priest or a holy paladin at the bottom. And those are kind of your choices. Play around with it as you will, but this is kind of where you want to go with that. What I'll say for this ability, so something I can say now that I've played a lot more with Twisted Crusade, is basically just use this ability. And actually, I'll do a quick, like, it's not really rotational, but because I don't want to get too much into rotation. But what you kind of want to do, if you have this exact talent setup, so I don't think there's like a training dummy here, so I'll just tell you what to do. Maybe there is somewhere, but I don't know where it is if there is. So like when I start a fight, you want to use Twisted Crusade like somewhat near your target. Like you don't want to use it from too far away because it has a second component to it where you can blow it up. It turns into Fell Spike later on. And I think it's like 30 yards. It's a pretty big range. But you want to be generally close to the stuff that you want to blow up. So before it explodes, you want to press it again and blow stuff up. Or if ads come in, you want to blow them up and steal the DPS before other people hit them or whatever, right? And you can blow it up that way. So that's another component of it. But generally speaking, you want to get close to your target. You can, what I've been doing is kind of like just judgmenting and Blade of Justicing from far away. We're not going to get, there is a proper order of which to do this, but we're not going to get into that. You know, kind of like Judgment, Blade of Justice as I get closer to the enemy. Then I'm going to pop my Twisted Crusade ability. And now I'm going to start doing like my normal rotational stuff. So I'm going to use my Divine Hammer. I'm going to use my Wake of Ashes, my Judgment, my Hammer of Light, my Divine Toll. And I'm going to start doing as much damage as I can. And then what I'm going to do is, so you have this ability that reduces your cooldown of your abilities, right? It's called Remix Time, and it has a 2-minute cooldown, and it makes your cooldowns refresh a lot faster. So the one question is like, when should you use this, right? And so what I would say when to use this is with these exact talents. Now, if you don't have Divine Hammer and Final Reckoning, it might be a little bit different. Like with Execution Sentence, maybe you just want to fire it right after your Execution Sentence ends. In fact, that's probably when you want to fire it, as soon as your Execution Sentence ends. But for this group of talents, right, you want to get a second use of Wake of Ashes. So basically 30 seconds, you know, do a little DPS, because when you have your Radiant Glory on, it gives you wings when you use your Wake of Ashes, as you can see here. So wait till your wings runs out or whatever, and then use your Remix Time. And then what that's going to do is, this is going to have like 30 seconds left. This is going to have, what? I don't even know. Yeah, like 30 seconds left. It's a minute cooldown. Your Divine Hammer is not going to come back up, but then everything else is going to be ready to go again. You'll get another full use of everything together at that point. And it's also going to have your Twisted Crusade almost ready to go as well. And then you can fire that off too. So like just min-maxing that a little bit. Don't worry about it too much. Like if you don't do it in the perfect order, it's okay. But just keep in mind, like, okay, when should I use this? Now, if you have execution sentence, like I just mentioned, you can just go ahead and use your execution sentence, use your Wake of Ashes, use your Divine Toll, and then as soon as your execution sentence ends on your enemy and hits, you can probably just use your remix time right after that, and then that'll just have you ready to go again with another Wake of Ashes into execution sentence. So it's a lot of single target damage kind of being funneled in there. Not really funneled, but put into that main target there. And the next expansion, that'll be more of a funnel thing. So I did want to mention that as well, because we didn't talk about that at all in the getting started video, was like how to use these abilities a little bit. So again, and then after that point, you just want to use Twisted Crusade on cooldown and just use it as much as possible. It's very, very strong. I assume all the abilities are pretty strong, but since this one's the strongest, you'll just see like 20, if you go into a raid or something, you'll see like 20 of these demons out doing damage. It's kind of crazy to see there. And then again, Fell Spike, you just kind of use that. It's an on use, so it's the same button. It turns into it, just like my Wake of Ashes turns into that. This turns into Fell Spike. And then, so this guy's gonna, so he's standing here following me around. When I press it, I don't know if he blows up when I'm not in combat. Let's see. Yeah, so then he blows up with a big old spike here, see? And then that does a bunch of AoE damage. So you just kind of want to take advantage of that AoE damage that does. And you know, it's very powerful. And obviously you want to use it, even if it's single target, just use it right before it ends, right? Right before the actual on use ends of it, just use it for that. Is there anything else? We did talents, we did gear, we did abilities, we did the artifact weapon. I don't know if there's anything Paladin specific to talk about. So let's end this with like talking about like how to use your time, how to farm bronze, how to farm power, all that kind of stuff. So I did myself, you know, I am someone who doesn't like a ton of spoilers myself, which is kind of unique among a lot of people who make like guides and stuff like that, because like generally you're kind of spoiling things yourself for people a lot of times. But I actually don't like a lot of spoilers. But for the purpose of this video, actually, I went ahead and tried to look up like bronze farming guides. I couldn't find, there's nothing that's coming out that's, at least that I could find, that's like broken or anything like that. As far as just farming bronze for your rewards, you want to get your mounts and everything like that. If there is something broken, it's not being shared widely enough to just find it with an easy search at least. A lot of the guides you'll find that I found are just very generic, and that's going to be actually a testament to a good job that Blizzard did on this in making it so you can do many different things, and it gives you very similar bronze. Now, if you just want my honest opinion of what the fastest way to get bronze is, it's just not a very feasible way for most players, and that's to have a group of 5 people, and you just keep spamming Mythic Keystones at the highest level that you can do while still face rolling it. So if you and your 4 friends can do +7 keys, I don't even know what number would be face rollable or whatever, but if you and your friends could do +7 keys and face roll them, then just keep doing that over and over again. That will be the fastest thing you can do. Like most things, joining a group is always beneficial in World of Warcraft. That's the way they're always going to make it. You know, some people don't like it, but it is an MMO, so I'm usually in favor of that, even though I don't have, none of my real life friends play anymore. So it's like either guildies or former guildies. That's the only people I really play with most of the time, and sometimes people from the channel even, or something like that. But you know, I don't have 4 people to reliably play with all the time either. But I would say that is probably the most advantageous way to farm bronze, is to do that. But the good news is that everything pretty much does give you bronze, especially right now. We're still early in this, so there's going to be more stuff coming out. So right now, if you go to Raid Finder, you'll notice that there's just Trial of Valor and Emerald Nightmare. There's no Nighthold, there's no Argus, there's no Tomb of Sargeras, and so there's not as many things to do. So especially right now, that would be the best way. But it's not like so remarkably better that you can't do other things as well. So things that you should be doing, let's say you're a solo player, right? So what you can do is you can do your daily heroic, it'll reward you bronze. You can do your daily normal, that'll reward you bronze. At some point, the raid finders are supposed to reward you bronze. I'm not sure why they don't anymore. Maybe they still do and they don't have it as the reward. If ever your roll, so if you're a rat, if you're watching this as a rat, you're going to be a damage roll. If ever your roll offers you extra, you can do that for your first run of the week on the raid finder. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend using the raid finder. But if you can get into a normal group, pretty much any eye level can do normal version of the raid. And so you can go into the normal raid and try to do that. And then for heroic raids, which I did today, you want to be about 580. So you can see I'm 596. That's going to be more than powerful enough to do any of the heroic raid stuff. 580 makes it really easy, and you kind of want to focus on getting your gear there. So you want to do the raids, you want to do maybe some Mythic Plus groups, you want to get into groups, you want to get to 580. How do you get to 580? Well, you just simply, you can do anything. You can keep spamming dungeons, you can keep spamming heroics. I think the questing is probably the best way to just very flatly upgrade your gear, because especially when you're on a quest line where you just keep completing a quest, every time you complete a quest, I don't think I have one on me right now, you get a little box, and that box is going to have a piece of gear in it, and it's going to have some of these token things in it, and it's going to have some bronze in it and other things as well. But you're going to get a piece of gear that's similar to your eye level. It's just RNG, of course, on the roll, but that piece of gear could be an upgrade. Not for me anymore, really, because once you get over 580, it doesn't really come. You only get like 584 basically from those like random chests or whatever from the quests. But you do get these motes as well, and these motes are important. And when you get 10 of those, they give you something for your eye level, right? And actually, we have 10 of them right now, so we can just use this and show you. So you have 10 of these, and what did I get? I got 10 eye level upgrade on my helmet. Haste Mastery. I have only Mastery, so I'm going to lose a little bit of Mastery, but oh well, I'll put it on for the sake of this anyways. And now I have a 601 helmet, right? It's just an RNG roll. I could just get something completely that I don't need, but again, you get them from every single quest you do. You get one of those boxes, so it's a very reliable way to get upgrades for your gear, as long as you're doing enough stuff. And that's what Legion Remix is about. It's about doing stuff. So questing is probably, again, like the best way. So I did pretty much all the campaign quests in Valajar, but look, I still have other quests I could do in Valajar. I did about half of the quests in High Mountain, but I still have a lot of quests to do in High Mountain. I haven't done hardly any of Azura, and I haven't done like any of Val'Shara, and I did only like the very opening quests of Suramar. So I have like tons of potential of gear upgrades still, just from doing quests. So that's probably the best way to get up to that 580 mark. Once you're 580, go into the raids, do them on normal if you can, do them on heroic if you're up for it. Don't feel stressed to do it. Do a random heroic, do a random dungeon. And if you want to call it quits after that, then call it quits. If you're not having fun like grinding everything, I personally like doing it. I like, being a glutton for punishment and just trying to, power this thing up as much as possible over here. But if you don't like that, then just do that every day. You'll get tons of bronze just from doing quests. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not doing any exploits. I'm not doing any crazy farms. And I've already bought like, I don't know, 15, 20 mounts and all kinds of stuff, right? Like, you're going to get your bronze. So I wouldn't worry about too much. They did a very good job at making sure like every single thing gives you bronze. In that same vein though, they made these things very prominent. These quests from Eternus here, right? So he's this big old guy here. You keep getting sent back to him, and you do these these quests for him, and these research quests, I guess they're called, and these give you even more rewards. So obviously do these every time you can. Try to choose one that's easy for you to do, right? A lot of times you get a choice of what to do. The mining and herbing one's very easy. Maybe you're wondering, how do I get mining and herbs to show up on my map? Early on, you'll get this elixir of recumbered sight. Every time you die, I believe you have to use it, but then when you use it, it'll actually show them on your mini map, the herbs and ores, and you don't need a mining pick or anything. You just go do it. It's a very easy one. Obviously, doing quests is a very easy one. Just do the ones that you can handle, and just do as many of these as you can or have time to do. That'll give you a lot of bronze, and it'll give you a decent amount of power and all that kind of stuff as well. So that's probably the number one thing. Also, we mentioned this in the quick guide as well, but over here, if you can handle heroic tier, then I recommend doing heroic world tier. So heroic world tier is definitely can be a little bit hazardous at first, especially when you're leveling. So let's say you're not even 80 yet, you're one of the people that are like almost 80, so you wanted to get into this video. The 70 to 80 range heroic world tier can be a little bit rough. Even regular mobs might be able to almost kill you. You'll have to actually be paying attention and locked in sometimes. So if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But the reality is, if you're in heroic world tier, you're going to get so much rewards that you're never going to have to worry about not having enough rewards. That being said, you could just farm up in normal world tier. It'll take you a little bit longer, but then once you're super strong, go into heroic world tier. but you definitely at some point want to go into the heroic world tier, whether that's right away at 25, or that's you're already over 600 item level and you're very powerful and you have your best jewelry and your best trinkets, and then you turn on heroic world tier. But at some point, turn that on. Another underrated way just to get regular bronze, not power necessarily, is just flying in the air and getting the bronze balls that are everywhere. Those are like pretty good sources of bronze. It's like not something you want to spend all of your time on, but like if you're flying around waiting for something to pop, a queue or something like that, it's a nice little thing to do as well, gathering those things. Something that they added is there'll be like these eyes, these demon eyes in the sky, and they'll have like dragon flying race circles around them, and you'll fly through them with like fel crystals. And once you fly through them all, then the eye will break free. And then you want to fly through the eye, and then it'll spawn a bunch of those bronze orbs. Now, again, this isn't something you want to do as your main source of bronze farming, but if you're waiting for a queue to pop, instead of just sitting here, you can go do that, and you will gain more bronze doing that. That's kind of like the real message for this, is just don't stand still, and you'll get bronze. Everything you do will give you bronze. And I haven't found, like I said, I'm sure there is some kind of crazy farm other than 5-man groups, but you know, I couldn't find it with a search, and I haven't stumbled upon anything myself. I haven't seen any groups listed for it like you did in the mop remix. So I'm sure there is something, but you know, I wouldn't really worry too much about exploiting anything because they're going to nerf it if everyone's doing it anyways. And the reality is, like I said, you're going to get plenty of stuff to get every single item that you want to get. For me, it's not even about that. Once I realized how many mounts I got just from leveling to 80, I didn't even care about that anymore. At this point, I'm just going to see how many levels I can put into my final talent before I get sick of it. So that's where I'm at on it. So before we end, so that's kind of how you get bronze, how you get power, the things you should be doing, your raids, your to do Mythic Plus, right? So you might be thinking like you've been playing retail for a long time maybe, but you don't even you can't even comprehend like how do I do Mythic Plus? Well, you have to go run a Mythic 0 and get a key, or join somebody else's Mythic Plus, right? So you can search just like you can on retail, right? So like right now I could get an extra satchel of rewards by doing Dark Bow, but go to pre-made group, go to dungeons, and you'll see Mythic Plus is listed already. So people are doing 10s, so some people are doing 12s on here already. That's pretty cool. I personally haven't delved too much into Mythic Plus. I did do one earlier, but I need to do my Mythic Plus keys on retail first and fill my vault. So I don't want to just be sitting here spamming Mythic Plus when I need to do that on retail more than here. But yeah, you can do that. You can sit here and spam Mythic Plus too. If you're a huge Mythic Plus player on retail anyways, you can just sit here and spam Mythic Plus as well. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to add. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything with Paladin. We did talent stats, the abilities, the artifact weapon. There's no crafting in this. There's no enchanting. I think that's out. There's like no consumables other than the scrolls that you get, which are pretty self-explanatory. So I think that's about everything. And yeah, obviously we'll still do updates, especially like as they do release more content or if any super farm is found. Other than that, I'll probably focus on doing like, this is how you solo this really hard thing as a Ret Paladin until then, and content like that. But yeah, I think that'll be it for this one. If I missed anything, I'm really sorry. I was trying to make sure I remembered everything. I didn't have notes for this because I was trying to keep it a little bit more casual. But yeah, that'll be it for this one, guys. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. That helps me out the most. If you're already a subscriber, you can check out the Patreon. That also helps me out. And other than that, everybody have a good one.